Democracy. A word that echoes through history. A promise of power to the people. But this promise was not born in a day. It is the product of revolutions, philosophies, battles, and dreams. This is the story of democracy, how it began, how it changed, and what it means for us today. In the 5th century BCE, in the city-state of Athens, a radical idea took root. For the first time in recorded history, free male citizens could vote directly on laws. This was democratia, rule by the people. Athenian democracy was revolutionary, but also exclusive. Women, slaves, and foreigners had no say. Meanwhile, Rome introduced a different model, the Republic. Power was vested in elected officials, guided by a complex constitution. This seed of representative government would echo into modern times. In India, ancient republics like the Vajji Confederacy featured assemblies and consensus governance, a lesser-known but equally fascinating democratic experiment. With the collapse of ancient republics, democracy faded in the West but flickered elsewhere. In small councils and legal traditions, participatory governance found sanctuary. Byzantine themes featured local assemblies, Indian village panchayats persisted as self-governing bodies. Islamic thinkers like Al-Farabi and Ibn Khaldun offered sophisticated political insights that informed leadership and justice. The fall of Rome ushered in a time of kings and empires. But beneath the crown, new ideas stirred. In 1215, English nobles forced King John to sign the Magna Carta. It was not democracy, but it was a beginning, a promise that even a king could be bound by law. The early Islamic caliphates emphasized shura, or consultation, as a form of participatory governance. In Africa, systems like the Igbo and Gada employed councils and age-grade governance, offering a collective voice in decisions. Medieval parliaments in Scandinavia and city republics like Venice and Florence introduced civic assemblies and electoral lotteries, foreshadowing more inclusive models. The Enlightenment sparked a fire of intellectual rebellion. Thinkers began to ask, what justifies power? What rights belong to the individual? John Locke argued for natural rights. Montesquieu championed the separation of powers. Rousseau envisioned the general will of the people as sovereign. These ideas would soon move from ink to action. Diderot, Voltaire, Kant, and Mary Wollstonecraft added layers to the democratic discourse. The call for reason, equality, and secular governance became a continental chorus. In 1776, the American colonies declared independence, forming a republic guided by a constitution. It was the Enlightenment made real. Across the Atlantic, the French Revolution roared with ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, but also chaos and bloodshed. The revolutions weren't perfect. They excluded women, the poor, and people of color. But they set a precedent: governments should serve the people. The Haitian Revolution, led by formerly enslaved people, challenged racial and colonial orders, pushing democracy into revolutionary territory. In the 1800s, the arc of democracy bent slowly toward inclusion. Britain passed reform acts that expanded the vote. In Latin America, figures like Simón Bolívar led independence movements, birthing republics across the continent. Abolitionist movements fought not only to end slavery, but to realize the promise of liberty for all. Meanwhile, Japan's Meiji Restoration and the Tanzimat reforms in the Ottoman Empire revealed the global appetite for modern governance. The 20th century witnessed democracy's greatest tests. Wars against fascism and communism were also battles for the soul of democracy. Women fought and won the right to vote in many nations. The suffrage movement redefined what democracy meant. After World War II, colonized nations demanded self-rule. In Ghana, India, Indonesia, democracy was reborn. New democracies emerged. Others fell. But the dream persisted. Civil rights movements in the US, labor movements in Europe, and transitions in post-dictatorship Latin America expanded what democracy could be. The Cold War's end sparked a wave of democratization. South Africa dismantled apartheid. Eastern Europe shed communism. Yet new democracies faced old problems: corruption, inequality, and fragile institutions. In the 21st century, democracy faces new challenges. Misinformation spreads with the speed of light. Populism and authoritarianism rise in familiar places. Yet innovation also offers hope. From e-governance in Estonia to youth-led protests in Hong Kong and Nigeria, people continue to demand a voice. Movements like Me Too and Black Lives Matter push democracy to reckon with representation and justice. Democracy is not a destination. It is a journey, fragile, imperfect, yet vital. Its evolution is not over. It depends on us. To protect democracy is to participate in it. To question, to vote, to listen. Democracy is not a gift. It is a responsibility. And its future belongs to those who believe in it.